Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys about a little bit of a novel concept that people don't really discuss very often when it comes to training frequency, full body training, and all that, is that you don't actually need that many exercises if you pick things efficiently, if you want to train full body every single time you're in the gym. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on scaling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. All right, and the things that we need to remember, a couple different things to think about. When we look at the different researches out there, we look at number one, Dr. Bradshaw and Fell studies showing that when volume is equal, and guys remember, volume is actual how many pounds you move on an exercise, meaning it doesn't matter whether we're talking about a bench press, a barbell squat, barbell curl, whatever it happens to be. When volume is equal, low reps and high reps produce similar amounts of hypertrophy. We can't tell them apart in the studies. Meaning 7 sets of 3 versus 3 sets of 10, 3 rep sets versus 10 rep sets, more of a powerlifter style training versus a bodybuilder style of training. If the weight moved at the end of the sets is equal on the same exercise, they seem to gain the same muscle. But you gain more strength from the 3 rep set. So they get better on their 1 rep maxes, but they gain the same amount of size. The downside is that it takes more time in the gym. All right, that's one of the big problems we run into, is that time in the gym. Doing 7 sets of 3 or 8 sets of 3, if you're going to have to do 4 different exercises, is fucking insane. You're spending way more time in the gym than you need to. So a lot of people will opt for, you guessed it, doing higher reps with less sets to get the same volume so they can get their 3 or 4 exercises in and train everything and get out. What we know from the Norwegian powerlifter study on drug-tested, drug-free powerlifters who are competitive is that we found that higher frequency training when weekly volume is the same, right? Squatting 6 days a week versus squatting 3 days a week. If you squat the same amount for the entire week, meaning half the volume on each workout, as long as weekly volume is the same, weekly reps and sets are the same, strength gains are equal, right? Strength gains seem to be dependent upon how many heavy reps you get in every week. Neural efficiency, motor unit learning, all of that strength end of it that's independent of hypertrophy tends to depend on how much work you do. How many sets of 3 do you perform a week? It's going to determine the motor pattern learning on those exercises, right? You guys following me so far? But the higher frequency produced more muscle growth, right? More muscle growth and any extra gains in strength were attributed purely due to the higher frequency causing more muscle growth. They gained more muscle when they squat 6 days a week or bench 6 days a week versus 3. That was interesting studies that were looked at. And there's definitely something to that because of keeping muscle protein synthesis elevated. So the question becomes, when you factor all of that in, if a person was concerned with drug-free, gaining as much muscle and as much strength on all their exercises as possible without overtraining, you've got different methods that you can apply to the gym. And guys need to hear me out, because without that background, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But remember, frequency is there for what purpose? To gain muscle faster. All right, total volume and doing triples is how you gain the strength and the motor patterns. So what happens if you change exercises every time you're in the gym? And what I mean is, you rotate through the big exercises, but you make sure you train full body. You train full body every time you're in the gym. You can actually capitalize on what we know from these 2 studies without spending too much time in the gym. Because that's the problem you run into very, very quickly is, too many exercises. You can't do high sets. But what if you picked 1 to 2 really efficient exercises every single time you're in the gym? And you did 3 sets of 7. You've got 3-minute breaks in between. A little bit of warming up. You're talking about 21 minutes per exercise. 22 if you count warm-ups. If you only do 2 exercises, about 45 minutes to train. 45 minutes. All right, 45 minutes a day, that's not bad. So how would you pull that off with something like the deadlift? All right, the deadlift works almost every muscle in the body, does it not? Now, people will argue about whether it's that great on the quads or it's that great for the lats. You know, the research shows that it's enough to stimulate growth. Yeah, it'll stimulate growth. So what happens if you come in and do 7 or 8 sets of 3 on the deadlift every time you're in the, or at least on one workout, 7 sets of 3 on one workout? Have you stimulated most of the muscles in your body? Yeah. Quads, hamstrings, glutes, spinal erectors, abs, lats, traps, forearms, biceps. Maybe not the best bicep exercise, but you need to remember, every time you're in the gym, you don't have to maximally stimulate every muscle. As long as you give some stimulation to a muscle, it will respark protein synthesis. All right, and that's where we're going to go with this. The deadlift will make everything grow as part of a well-rounded program other than maybe the pecs, triceps, and the delts. So what happens if you do 7 sets of 3 on the bench press or the weighted dip or the overhead press after the deadlift? You just did 2 exercises that worked every single muscle in your body. Now, you could argue some of those muscles won't be hit as effectively, but it is enough to respark muscle protein synthesis if at another point in the week those muscles are hit maximally, right? That's what we also know from all the data over the years. A bicep will grow from curls or weighted chin-ups with an exercise that doesn't stimulate it quite as well. Like a Penley row or a deadlift will respark the muscle protein synthesis from the weighted chin-ups or the curls a day or 2 before. It will respark it and continue that growth. Even if the deadlift itself may not be a great bicep exercise, no one's ever built 18-inch arms just doing the deadlift. Let's be realistic, it's never fucking happened. But it will re-stimulate the growth from the other exercises. It will respark the protein synthesis because it does put a stretch on it. And we do know that in noobs, biceps do grow from deadlifts. So there's at least some stimulation. So you've worked every muscle in the body, right? Right? All right, what happens if the next day you only want to do 1 exercise, but you say, what exercise could I do triples on that would stimulate some growth in every single muscle in the body? How about the push press if I clean it off the floor? Because if you do 7 sets of push presses, you did 7 heavy cleans. Now, are those 7 cleans by themselves going to stimulate a lot of growth? No. But what you just did deadlifts yesterday. All right. Is the power clean going to work the hamstrings, the glutes? Yeah. Even though you're saying, well, that's probably only 60% of your max if you can clean it up for a triple push press. Maybe, might be 70%. Okay, 7 reps with 70%. You're telling me that won't stimulate growth? I think it will if done explosively. I think it'll stimulate growth. It's not going to be maximum growth, but it's about accumulation over the week. You just need these exercises to re-stimulate muscle growth that's been hit with a bigger exercise earlier. You guys following me here? Your hamstrings, your glutes, traps, spinal erectors, biceps. Biceps get worked decently hard on power clean. There are guys who built pretty decent biceps from doing a lot of power cleaning. Actually, there's a lot of football players and Olympic athletes who've seen significant bicep growth. Forearms, all that stuff's getting worked on the cleans, and you get to the push press. The push press works everything. All right, it works your chest. In fact, there are guys who've built their chest exclusively off the push press. It does happen when you get strong enough. Works the entire shoulder girdle, the delts, the traps. Push press is actually, by most strength and conditioning coaches out there, considered to be a fantastic tricep exercise. Plus, it also hits the long head of the tricep, something that doesn't get hit as hard on the bench press. So, this clean and push press just re-stimulated every single muscle that you had worked in a workout before, the day before, using the deadlift and some sort of other press, right? Oh, and people say, what about quads? What about quads? The push press has been shown to be one of the most fantastic explosive power builders in the legs. Is it as good for size as a squat or even a deadlift? No, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So if you did all that one exercise, because of the multiple nature of it, the complex nature of it, to clean up push presses on triples off the floor every single time, every single time, it's going to stimulate a lot of growth. All right, that is a full body workout. 7 sets, you're done. Okay, you want more, you want to be in there a half hour, do 9 or 10 sets. All right, then you're in there 30 minutes. That one exercise has stimulated muscle growth in every muscle in the body and will build a tremendous amount of strength. If all you did was come in and power clean into position, your push press, and do 10 sets twice a week, you would get strong as fuck if you did nothing else. If you literally did nothing else in the gym but do that twice a week, you'd probably be stronger within 2 years than most of the guys who lift weights at the gym. You'd be stronger if you were to go test different maxes on different exercises. But it also stimulated growth and everything. How about another one? How about if you come in and do Olympic squats, high bar squats? Re-stimulating, not going to hit the posterior chain quite as much as maybe the cleans and the deadlifts, but it'll still hit them and re-spark the muscle growth from those, but it will directly work the quads a lot more. How about if you do some weighted chin-ups behind it? Do weighted chin-ups behind it. Again, full body exercise. Full body workout right there. Everything's gotten worked just about. Maybe not the triceps, but actually they are. We got studies showing that the upper chest and the triceps get hit on the weighted chin-up. Those 2 exercises, you just worked every muscle in the body to a greater or lesser degree. 3 sets of 7. How about another workout? Something you want to do something slightly different? Okay. How about Penley Rows? And they do work the posterior chain because of the nature of the exercise. So again, Penley row, explosive power movement. All right, follow it up with some cleans and either front presses, strict presses, or power cleans and behind the neck presses. Or power clean it up and do behind the neck push presses. Every muscle in the body just got worked. I just gave you guys 4 different exercises, or 4 different workouts that use 1 to 2 exercises, that every single one of those work every muscle in the body. They're all using workloads that Brad Schoenfeld's study showed gave similar muscle growth to bodybuilder style training, even with triples. You can come in and literally do 1 to 2 exercises every workout. If you pick those exercises very, very carefully, you can train with heavy triples for high volume, be out of the gym in 45 minutes. You could do something like this 4 or 5 days a week, maybe 6 days a week. Again, use an RPE scale to work with. You don't necessarily need to set a progression pattern. You could work off of RPE. Or you could get to where when you can easily do any of these exercises, your 7 sets of 3, or 8 sets of 3, or 10 sets of 3, or whatever you happen to choose to do. When it starts to feel too easy, you could add 5 pounds. Just don't hit failure on anything. All right, if you were to take training like this, you could actually do 1 or 2 exercises every workout. You could take everything that we learned from the Norwegian study, everything that we learned from Dr. Brad Schoenfeld's study, never do the same exercise even 3 days in a row so that you wouldn't get bored of it. You could be maximally strong on all of those. You would gain tremendous amounts of strength and you would maximize muscle gain. If someone really wanted to devote themselves to being as big and as strong as possible drug-free, a training style like this might be the way to go. I might actually write some of this down later. It's just something for people to think about. Just think about the breakdown of all of it. When you look at those studies and look at the way that I broke this down, a training style like this would be pretty effective without needing any sort of periodization for people who wanted to look at all the available data and they wanted to get as big and as strong as possible drug-free, and they don't mind dedicating 45 minutes to lifting weights most days. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.